very good evening. Happy Easter to all of you. I hope you had a very wonderful one. For us, there is no luxury at all because we are all here preparing to give you all that you need to know. It's RBA. My name is Ethan Tashobia, as always. Now, tonight we are tackling a topic that is a bit controversial. To some, it is their freedom. To others, it is a taboo and it should not be talked about. And it is abortion. And last week, the government, the Ministry of Health, passed a ministerial order legalizing of sorts abortion, but with some reservations that we'll be talking about. And this is the debate that we'll want you to bring you up to speed. We'll be examining that ministerial order that puts abortion at rather a moderate way. If you want to do it, then you have to pass through some of the regulations, but they're a bit considered to be rather flexible, not as they used to be. But soon I'll be introducing some of the panelists and giving you some of the most crucial information that you need to know before we enter into this debate. But for now, let's go for a short break. When I come back, my panelists and all that you need to know about them, and of course the abortion. All right, welcome back. Now, the new ministerial order that came into force last week requires that abortion should be carried out after consultations between a woman and her doctor, unlike previously when the final decision over whether a woman could have the procedure depended on the court. Now, to discuss this and more, I'm joined by quite an informed panel. To begin with, on my far left, Dr. Joseph Lyara Sanguruziza, who was recently elected as the chairperson of Rwanda Civil Society Platform and, of course, the founder of the Never Again Rwanda. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us.
Thank you.
And congratulations on the election.
Thank you.
Quite a milestone over there.
Yeah.
We're waiting to see what you have for us, and this is probably your first assignment as the chairperson of the Rwanda Civil Society Platform. And then in the middle over there, we have Chantal Umuhoza, Rwanda feminist activist over there. Thank you so much, Chantal, for joining us.
Thank you.
You had a good Easter?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
All right, and of course, in my immediate left is MP Theonest Begumisa Safari, the Member of Parliament, the very person who was involved in amending the penal code and, of course, putting up this new law that we're going to be discussing tonight. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
I've missed you. The last time we met was the time when I was still reporting in the Parliament over there. So you had a good Easter, I believe, all of you, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's start it off. Before we go into the discussion, I want to bring you up to speed with the report we had. Of course, this is a story, a topic that has been making rounds in the news, and we have our own version of this report. Please follow it up.
Some women and girls go to extraordinary measures to get rid of pregnancies, putting their own lives at risk, with one admitting to using household sanitary items like detergent and glycerin to do it. In August last year, a law allowing girls under the age of 18 to have abortions legally was introduced if the girl was raped, became pregnant by a close relative, or if the pregnancy was found to pose a threat to the mother's life. The abortion had to first be approved by a court of law within the first 22 weeks of pregnancy. Anyone found to have an abortion pretending to have been raped would be liable to prosecution afterwards. Now a ministerial decree allows abortions to be carried out by trained medical personnel without the need for a court to approve them, and doctors argue that this will help reduce the number of girls and women who were illegally aborting, 24% of whom ended up dying. There is also the legal argument presented on the rights of an unborn child, and lawyers say that aspect of things can be open to interpretation, though the law is clear about what rights a baby still in the womb is entitled to. You have to ask yourself if an unborn child has legal rights, and the answer is there are rights entitled to human beings that fetus does not have because it is still unborn. It still has what we call protection in law, even though you cannot stroll in here pregnant and say you want to claim an inheritance for a child that is yet to be born. Legally, that baby that is unborn cannot be considered to have the rights of a human being. We also spoke to religious leaders who told us that their faith requires that even unborn babies are considered to have the rights of human beings, because that is what they are after all, even though they may still be in their mother's womb, and that such children should not be sacrificed to hide the shame of their parents when they engage in promiscuity and other forms of sexual acts outside the sanctity of marriage. Even though these latest laws on abortion are being introduced in line with the 2003 Maputo Protocol on Women's Rights that Rwanda signed, the members of the general public we spoke to were all against them, largely siding with religious leaders on the matter and stating that abortion is actually murder committed by parents towards their own children, even though they may still be unborn. In the last 5 years, 24,000 girls and women died of complications related to illegal abortions, and up to 1.7 billion Rwandan francs was spent to treat females suffering from the physical repercussions of having those types of abortions, even though they did not kill them. More than 12,000 women have gone to prison because of illegal abortions, as well as murdering their children, with 429 having received presidential pardons, the latest group during the last month.
A report over there by Serge Nore. Thank you so much for that report. Now, quite a controversial one, like I said in the beginning. Some people still believe that it's too early for probably Rwanda to have this kind of law in our instrument, in our tradition as Rwandans, whether it's forced marriage, how people kuterura. To some it was forced marriage, but to some it was a culture, it was traditional, it was accepted. Help us understand, first of all, Honorable Member of Parliament, what is it that we don't know about this new ministerial order, and what should we know as Rwandans?
Maybe what I should tell first is that abortion remains a criminal. It's not, I cannot say it is not a criminal. It's a criminal, but of course there are some grounds where it can be accepted. In the law, first of all, in the law number 68, 2018.
Yeah, is that the penal code or the ministerial order?
No, it's the law determining offences and penalties in general.
Yes.
Which replace the penal code.
Yeah.
And if you can see the Article 125, we find everything which is going to be accepted. Maybe before we talk more, let me first give a credit to the government of Rwanda, which in 2007, the government and the parliament, of course, we managed to abolish this penalty. And this put Rwanda at a certain level, as far as human rights are concerned. So now, when this law came, in its 125, Article 125, of course, in that direction of positive direction of protecting our people, you can see even in the ministerial order it is Article 3, but in the law it's Article 125. Then, for instance, we shall allow some grounds.
Exactly,
for abortion.
Yes, there are those grounds.
For instance,
if someone is
when a pregnant person is a child, you can imagine when somebody is a child, she cannot consent.
Yeah,
there is no consent. So this person, when she requests, we accepted as a parliament and the government, of course, that this person can be allowed to have this abortion. The abortion can be performed. Then another thing is that when the person requesting for abortion became pregnant after being subjected to forced marriage. Can
that's
imagine?
Debatable.
It is debatable. Yeah, I agree that, but but still, she has her own reasons to be protected if she was forced into that marriage. Let
me bring in Chantal. That forced marriage, and then in the process you have you're impregnated, you have a baby. Some say it's a blessing from God. Why abort?
Thank you very much. First of all, I have to also appreciate the step that the Rwandan government is taking as far as ensuring that women's access to safe and legal abortion can be realized. It has been a long way coming. It has really been a long time. I have to say, Rwanda, for the first time, as most of people might know, attempted the first revision of the law in 2012, and that was to comply with the Maputo Protocol, as he had just shared. And it's been a long process for us that have been really acting on this, pushing for this. This is having this ministerial at this level where we are. It's a celebration to some extent, because we're seeing some really steps in at least recognizing that some women, even though we're not yet there at 100%, but at least this recognition that some women in these cases, it should not be debatable, that they should have this service, which is a healthcare service. So you asked me about forced marriage. Of course, most people believe that there is no such thing as forced marriage in Rwanda, but I would like to say that it is there. And I think most of the cases is how people define forced marriage, because even arranged or negotiated kind of marriage between parents without the consent of a woman is still forced marriage in that case. And it still happens to this day, not only in rural areas, even in the cities, where sometimes parents still feel like they have a say over who their daughter is going to marry. And sometimes the daughter may not protest out of respect, but after you're there, you realize that this is not something that you really wanted to do by yourself. So in that situation, there's no reason why someone should be forced to go ahead with this kind of marriage, and especially if it results into a pregnancy, then they really have to go ahead and not continue with this marriage, as most likely it will not be a marriage that is going to go well. So first marriage happens, and in the context of Rwanda, we have to. It may not be in the same way how, for example, forced marriage or child marriage in neighboring countries, but there are also situations and circumstances that here in Rwanda also may cause for a marriage to be in a situation where the girl mostly has not decided fully to do that.
He mentioned something when he was, introducing his points. He talked about Rwanda, abolishing death penalty. And now you're in a situation where it is forced marriage, but you probably don't love this guy, and you at some point you've divorced, but you go an extra mile of, even killing the fetus. Isn't that murder in its own sense?
Do you want me to respond to that?
Please.
First of all, I wouldn't personally, I wouldn't agree with the term killing the fetus. It's called an abortion. It's called having an abortion or terminating a pregnancy to start with. But I also want to say that any pregnancy, irrespective of what caused it, for me, I believe it should not be forced upon a woman to go on with it. Here in Rwanda and currently in the Ministerial order, the only unwanted pregnancies that are being recognized, as you just explained, are those due to incest, forced marriage, when there's a complication for the health or the unborn, and for minors, of course. But for me, I would say even beyond that, I don't think it is really relevant that we have to say, you already had the sex, you're already pregnant, therefore go on with that. Yes, the mistake, or not even the mistake, the pregnancy has already been, is already there. Yeah. But then we don't have to say, now it's done, go on and figure it out. So we have to really recognize that any pregnancy, any child that has to be born has to be a child that is needed, that is welcome, that people are really ready to look after it fully. So we shouldn't be a society that wants to insist that you're already pregnant, therefore go and figure it out. Yeah.
Doctor, on that same issue, aren't we being too cruel to the unborn child?
What I can say is that I think, first of all, we need to appreciate what the government has done. And when you look at Africa and other developing countries, I think we need to give ourselves a credit. The government has tried to push forward the rights of women. But when it comes to reproductive health, I think we should allow women to lead discussions on reproductive health, because we don't understand what women go through. It's the women themselves. Yeah. So, of course, it's debatable. Different sections of our society has different perceptions on this, But to me, as a civil society activist, but also a health professional, I think issues related to reproductive health, women should take the lead because they go through a lot, most especially when it comes to bringing life to earth. Yeah.
Okay. Honourable Member of Parliament, what were some of the things that were going on as you were probably debating this law? You probably have come from an era where the practices of guterura, you probably have forced a child into a certain marriage because families have relationships, and you've had a child. Do you think, regardless of the circumstances, probably the kids have divorced, do you think it is appropriate for a mother to abort? You put it even in
according to the ministerial order, the minister put it, of course, the minister whom I appreciate what she has done. She put it at 22 weeks. 22 weeks.
Yeah.
But at first, when I mentioned about abolishing this penalty, I think it's better by aborting. I think you cannot compare. So I think there's no problem. Only that maybe when we are debating, we met some challenges. The beliefs, some beliefs from different religions. But still, what we did at first by abolishing the death penalty is much bigger than these discussions. This is what my take on that.
Sure. Yeah. And then, of course, in the recent past, we've seen the government of Rwanda, enacting some laws that are traditionally considered as probably taboo. Is it that we've come of age, or we are succumbing to, one would say Rwanda is succumbing to international pressure on what is going around the world, including this law on abortion and others that have come in place recently? Yeah.
I would say Rwanda is leading by example in East Africa, but globally, because you'd see, and especially with the current government, ever since, let's say, starting from the new current government after the post-genocide round of the Tutsis, you realize that a lot has really been invested in policies, in programs, in laws to ensure that every human being, every person, male or female, feels that they are not discriminated against, right from the Constitution, but also emphasis has also been put on women's rights. Many laws have been revised, have been repealed that previously used to discriminate women. We can talk about laws like on access to land, to property, all these laws and practices we had before that it's very hard to imagine now that actually it was possible that girls could not go to school or that women could not have open a bank account. And these things we have them today. And I'll tell you, as somebody who sometimes goes into different global and regional meetings, Rwanda is celebrated everywhere. The first time everywhere, whether in Europe, whether in Africa, everyone who wants to discuss and talk about the best practice when it comes to women's rights, when it comes to gender issues, is Rwanda. And I think we don't need to say, no, we are being pressured. No, because I think this is the right thing to do. It's still very sad. I mean, really sad that sometimes you meet women in the neighboring countries where they do not have a say on their property, on their land. And when you come back here in Rwanda, we're celebrating that. And I don't think it's not any pressure, but we feel like it is the right thing to do. And I think we are happy that we have the right open-minded leaders in place who really see that this is not a matter of Western cultures or Western principles, but it's a matter of human rights that every man, every woman, every girl, every boy should have equal opportunities.
She's saying it's not Western pressure, it's not Western culture, but these are things that we've not had from the time immemorial. Rwanda has not had these kind of legal practices and and even beliefs.
Yeah, well, I see this in two angles. One is that the way the government comes up with policies and laws, it's through a consensual format.
Yeah.
from the ground. All the concerned parties are engaged. No one wakes up one morning and comes up with a law. So there's that consensual, I think consensual and dialogue type of democracy that the country cherishes. And that's why you see that there's a lot of developments in various policies and laws. Mm-hmm. Two, each generation has its own challenges. Rwanda is not an island. It's part of the global dynamics. So it's not about pressure, but it's about the challenges that the current generation is going through. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to women's rights, we won't keep women in the kitchen. Now women are at the forefront. Women are doing miracles. So things have changed. So when you look at what was going on in the past and today, so we have to consider the current trends and the current generation. So, and because of that, it influences the decision makers and the policy makers to be able to come up with policies that respond to the realities on the ground. And I think it's due to the realities on the ground that facilitates some of those challenges. Not about pressure, because if it is pressure, when pressure goes away, no one is going to respect that law, that policy. Yeah.
And then you talked about dialogue. But how far does this dialogue go when we still see many people, like we saw in the report, still saying they actually side with the religious leaders who say, irrespective of any circumstances, probably apart from health, abortion is actually murder. So people don't believe in abortion. Mm-hmm.
So, what I can say that I think there is need for continuous awareness. We've been eroded by culture, religion. So there is need to keep educating the society to understand some of these changes and why the decision makers, the policy makers, have tried to. You see, the government puts up policies for the entire society. But it doesn't take away the fact that the society is made up of different categories of people. We have atheists, we have believers, we have non-believers, and we have Christians of God, people like me. So what the policies and laws help is to make sure that the country is in order. So it requires continuous awareness. Behavior change is a continuous process. You can't
but what kind of awareness?
Awareness.
When people are, some people, not all of them, but some people say, we are fine. Please don't bring your law before us. And you are the representative of the people, Honorable Member of Parliament.
Maybe allow me to hide something else.
Yeah.
Now there's where Rwanda is still unique. Laws are laws, but implementation normally Rwanda becomes unique in that, because maybe I'll give you an example of Maputo Convention. Maputo Convention is in 2003, but Rwanda ratified this in 2004. But when it comes to implementation, always Rwanda seems to be ahead of every other countries to implement. So all of these we have seen. The child rape, they are also in this convention. They are there, but this is why we appreciate what the minister has done.
Yeah.
Now we are going to implement in our unique way of doing things. So Rwanda in implementing, it's very unique compared to other countries.
My question still. You've put this law in place.
Yeah.
Some people are saying we don't need it. We don't need abortion regardless of any circumstances. But you still put it up. like we saw in the report. Why are you putting those people who don't want it? What those kind of dynamics?
But to me, what I know, when the law has been put in place, you cannot say you don't agree that the law, abide by the law. Now this law was signed by the highest authority. It was put in the Gazette. Actually, what the minister has done, it is the other article I mentioned of 125 of the law determining offences and penalties in general. That paragraph authorizes the minister to put this decree so that the law can be can function. So she was responding to the law, which was voted into place.
Can I?
Yes, Chantal.
Now, I would like to say that as a person who has really involved a lot in advocacy for access to safe abortion for quite some time, I know that out there the response and the stigma and the conception of abortion is still a problem, still a long way to go. If you walk on the street here in Rwanda, anywhere, let's say to go to Quartier Commercial, ask any person, man or woman, do you think abortion is okay? Obviously, most people are going to say no. And then if you take another step and ask them why, most of the time they're going to say because it's a sin. So you realize that most of the time the responses or the perceptions, like he just shared, are mostly derived from the religious beliefs most of the times, because Rwandan society to a large extent, most of them we're a religious country to some extent, even though not all of them, but at least most of the population have that religious belief where they're based from. So their belief in what is right and wrong, specifically on abortion, is coming from religion. But for me, still, I don't think that should be any basis to feel like the law shouldn't be there, because if you feel like you don't, at a personal level, you're not going to need abortion and you don't think abortion is right, don't go for it. But that should not mean that you have to stop those who are going to find themselves in those situations to use the actual health service. On yourself, don't do it. Make sure that you don't have any unwanted pregnancies that may lead you to that, to needing that service. So do that, but don't try to impose your religious beliefs in all the population, because they are, as research shows, people that really are going to benefit from this service, from this healthcare service, to save their lives and to be saved from different health implications that they've been having.
Sure.
Yeah, so what I can say that, even in civil society, not all civil society organizations support or are pro-abortion. So, as I said, civil society is also part of the society. So we even have, as civil society, we've not yet had a dialogue in order to have the same understanding on this. We have those who are pro, and we have those who are not. But what I can say that the government caters for each and everybody, for those who are pro, for those who are not. But the government has to make sure that it has services in place that respond to the needs of the society. In 2009. Guttmatch Institute, in partnership with the School of Public Health, came up with a report indicating that in 2009 there were 60,000 induced abortions. So, and in when you look at maternal mortality, unsafe abortion comes at a high percentage.
It's one of the largest contributors of maternal mortality.
The government can't behave like an ostrich when it has all those data. So it has to respond by making sure that it puts in place laws and policies that contribute towards having health services that might respond if someone has been raped, there is pregnancy due to incest, or maybe a child has been impregnated. So, to me, I think it's irrespective of different perceptions. But I think what the government has done is the right thing.
Maybe allow me to share how we legislate.
Mm.
Now, at the actually, even civil society was invited. every society. Now, for instance, at the committee level, everybody is allowed to come and debate and give some views.
Did you have some?
Yes, so many from civil society, they were there. Even most of these regions, they came. I was there with them, and
they still said
they just
no.
come and give. Some of them even write and give some
written explanations.
Yeah. So then you can't say that. Finally, when the law has
been,
then you don't agree.
Yeah.
So maybe you should come at the committee level, then give your views. Most of these are considered. That's what I've experienced.
Chantal, statistics show that 24% of women in Rwanda who have had abortions have lost their lives in the process. Do you think it is the process of the fault of the doctors? Do you think it's probably because they have done it wrong, or they should not have done it even in the first place? 24% of women in Rwanda have died while having... No, 24% of women in Rwanda who have abortion have died in the process. That means probably out of 100% who have had abortions, 24 of them have lost their lives.
Yeah.
Do you think it's, while activating, pushing for this law to come in place, did you put into consideration those numbers? Is it because we don't have professionals who are, really qualified to do this? Or it's probably they have done it wrongly?
I think I would like to say that most of the abortions that are done in Rwanda, and at least until before this ministerial order, are mostly unsafe abortions.
Yeah.
Because you realize that, and even before 2012, 2012, before the first revision of the abortion law, abortion was illegal in almost all cases.
Yeah.
It was only to save the life of the mother, and that was only when the doctor determined that this was a life and death situation, and that's only when it would be conducted. So, but that did not mean that abortions were not going on. They were going on, of course, and most of the times it was unsafely. Like the statistics shared by the doctor, that annually the incidence in Rwanda is 60,000 abortions, induced abortions in the country. That's a very high number, and most of them are done unsafely. Because, of course, of the fear for the law that has been there, because of fear of the implications, you realize that most of the times that's when it results in really serious complications and mostly death. I personally know people that have died from induced unsafe abortions in different cases. I also know those that really suffered from serious morbidities or complications, and they went for health services, but most of them also ended up in prison. So. I don't think it actually, by research shows that abortion itself, when done safely in a safe environment, it is more safe than an actual pregnancy. And maybe the doctor will share that, but there is actually research that says that abortion, when done safely and in timely manner, it is a very safe procedure. So I don't think in Rwanda we lack the facilities or the knowledge or the medicine to actually do this. It's actually, for me, I think the number the number of deaths due to abortion are mostly because of the situation that were there, especially legally, and the situation that was there legally that really most of the times provided a difficult situation for abortion to be carried out safely.
Sure.
But when carried out safely, I'm very sure that all this number of maternal mortalities that unsafe abortion have been contributing are going to really reduce significantly.
Doctor, putting all the entire decision into the hands of a doctor, whether you want to abort or not, isn't that, putting the rights of the fetus into the hands, on the line, actually, let me use that word?
Yeah, to me, when it comes to abortion, I see this as women's right. It's the rights of women. Why am I saying this? I've witnessed and I've seen that it's always those with resources that have safe abortion, because until now, abortion is for the five categories, and those with the resources, they travel and go to those countries that have legalized abortion. For those who don't have resources, go for unsafe abortion. And at the end of the day, we we see the complications, we see the death of the mother. So I think there is a need for the society to appreciate the changes and the challenges that each generation comes with, and try to accept the realities of the ground, so as to be able to minimize the consequences of unsafe abortion. For example, when I was reading the 2012 demographic health survey, and almost 37% of the pregnancies are unwanted. So, it's almost the third.
Yeah. So that's a huge number.
Yeah. So you need to make sure that you have services that are going to cater for that 37, if at all. If the 37, anyone within that 37% might want to have an abortion, in order to make sure to minimize the maternal mortality, and also to make sure that there is no clandestine abortion. So that 24% we are talking about the death, it comes from the fact that people went for clandestine, or maybe unsafe abortion.
Thank you so much. Let's go for a very short break. When we come back, we'll be reading some of your comments and opinion as we get closer to the end of this. But we're still here, and if you have some of the questions to be raised either to the ministry, you can probably read them loud, and they will probably hear from where they are. Let's go for a break. When we come back, it's more on abortion.
Many people have been asking what we have been up to. Well, we have told the different stories from decision makers, but this time round it will be different. We will be getting head to head with various influencers and get to the heart of the matter. It is not an easy ride, but we'll endeavor to get you there. It will be insightful, informative, and at times we will agree to disagree, because we are the bridge to your leaders.
In focus here, and then some of your comments are coming in. Dr. Magnifique Ilakoze, we should avoid, here is some of your comments, we should avoid using statements like killing a fetus, criminals, when one is referring to a decision that someone has taken to our own life. Interesting over there. Let me see, some Barak Jin, the patient seeking consultations will need to choose their doctor wisely. Those they are sure will approve the procedure, not a safe haven still. Believe that the decision must be personal. Allow citizens to freely decide how they want to live their lives. Thank you so much for your comments over there. Let me see if I still have some comments over there. Let me see this one. Nwarane, confident. In focus, the new law is not observing things like abortion can increase the sex practice between generations. It can increase guilt and self-hatred which the parents can take on a child. Abortion cuts the development of a mother-infant bond. It reduces future of motherly capability. Thank you so much for your comment over there. I believe these are some of... Then there is Nelson Gashagas over there. Next time, more women. I should probably inform you that we tried to invite as many women, but some of them actually turned us down on the last minute due to other, appointments, and it's not entirely our fault. But thank you so much for your comment. But let's first go to some of these comments here. The patient seeking consultations will need to choose their doctor wisely. Those that still sure to approve the procedure, not still a safe haven. Some people still believe that it's not safe for women, regardless of putting the entire decision into the hands of a doctor. Do you agree, Chantal, that it's not yet safe for women to abort?
I would say it's safer than the options that we had before, because before this ministerial order that had to some extent simplified access, even though not 100%, is trying to address some of the cases where, like we said before, the only options the women had were to go through very unsafe abortion, very rudimentary practices that where most of them had to risk their lives or have very complications with their health, with their reproductive health in general. But now, of course, compared to the fact that now the ministerial order is requiring that it has to be done at the hospital, that is, of course, much safer. And I think yet I understand that most people don't yet understand or have much hope. But I would obviously it's going to be safer because abortion can be actually conducted not only by a medical doctor but even a nurse if it's done timely. In different countries we've seen where it does not have to be a medical doctor per se, but anyone who is trained in the health provision sector can be able to provide safe abortion. It has been done and is more safely done than other options we had before. So
how far should it go in terms of safe abortion? How far should probably the government allow? Do you think, since we think that probably the doctor can, that provision of a doctor having the final decision, how far should we go in making sure that women have all the rights they need to decide if they want to abort or not?
Okay.
Do you want to?
No, I want to just say that until now the ministerial order has, I think, 5 exemptions, which are also in the law that was passed last year.
Are they understandable?
Yes, it's very understandable, but also the ministerial order also explains that a woman does not have to provide any evidence with a doctor when it comes to that, except for health reasons where they have to really go through checking, and 2 doctors have to ascertain that, which is also something that we see might be a barrier. But this at least makes sure that a doctor, there is also a ministerial order they have ordered that has to be counseling, so it's not like you're just going to walk in and get it like on the same day. So there's going to be maybe on the same day, but there's going to be a procedure where they make sure that someone has really made the decision.
Sure.
They're going to have a written consent, they're going to go through counseling, and then if you really prove under the ministerial order, not proof, but if they go through the ministerial order and they see that a doctor really feels this woman has to have an abortion, then there's no need to provide evidence for that. So I feel we have to give it time, and I think, of course, the Ministry of Health should invest should invest in making sure that health providers understand these guidelines and should understand how they're going to implement it in a way that does not incur more barriers, but in a way that aims at saving women from going for unsafe options.
Doctor, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, what I want to contribute is that previously the woman had to have an approval from the court. Today, it's the health professionals, the medical doctors, that can approve this, because the court process is a hassle.
Yeah.
So by the time a woman or a girl or a lady would get an approval, the pregnancy might be 37 or 38 towards the delivery time. So I think there is some improvement in this. I think it's Baraka who said that the patient seeking consultation should choose their own
doctors wisely.
Yeah. I think, to me, if I analyze his comment, he's coming from the fact that even some health providers are also part of the society.
Exactly.
Maybe they are coming from a religious background, or maybe they are coming from a culture. They've been eroded by the culture,
the traditional beliefs.
The traditional beliefs.
Yeah.
So because even those doctors have the right to say that, please, I'm very sorry, I want to be able to help you in this.
Yeah.
So, but as my colleague Chantal said, even these health providers or my colleagues also need awareness so that they can understand the law and also the procedure, so that they can be able to provide proper services to those that come to them. Yeah.
Honorable Member of Parliament, in 2012 we have some figures saying that about an estimated 60,000 abortions are carried out annually in Rwanda. Yet we know that our resources as the country is our people, the human capital. And now you're putting this law in place, and we're depriving our nation of their own number one resources.
Thank you. Maybe I want to, in addition to what my colleagues have said, I think by having a qualified doctor in these roles, it's much less than allowing that percentage to go to the traditional healers. So it's better we put this actually in the order they say, at least with a bachelor's degree in medical. So this is much safer than just allowing all those people to go for traditional healers.
So for anyone who would,
so to me, I think the law has come actually to save
have a degree,
to save all these lives. To me, this is more healthy.
So it's coming to save more lives than it's actually going to take them. So probably as we come to the end of this, how do we make sure that the fetus rights are protected? Do we even have the rights that protect the unborn child in Rwanda? I don't think we do. Do we?
I think no. To me, I would say that. Of course, to me, I don't even call it killing. That term killing is
we even saw someone over there mentioning it.
At times, the law protects something in existence. So before a child is born, to me that a child is in existence when he or she is alive. So for those who use terms killing the fetus, etc., they have their own right. But to me, if a child has been raped or impregnated, if a woman has been forced into marriage and as a consequence, she has become pregnant. We've had cases of incest where a man might impregnate her own daughters or the family relatives. So I think someone in such a situation deserves and has the right to have safe abortion.
Sure. Yeah. Your closing remarks. We're coming to the end of this, Chantal. All this said and done, what is your take? How put us into the shoes of women regarding this law, and probably what you need more to make sure that women have safe abortion.
Yeah. Thank you. And once again, like I said from the beginning, I really appreciate the steps that we're taking in Rwanda. And especially specifically on this law, specifically on the law to ensure women can have access to safe and legal abortion. Like I said, it's been really a long time coming. For me, it's been more than 10 years really discussing, seeing how the government can agree to some extent that women can have access to abortion without any barriers. And I look forward to see the implementation of this. For me and the organization that I work with, we want to see how we can work closely with the Ministry of Health to support in any way that is possible, whether it's trainings or sensitization or other people that are going to be involved in the implementation, or the general public in general, to understand what it means in practical terms with this ministerial order. I feel like I'm looking forward to the implementation of this to see how it's going to go. And if there are any challenges or things we're going to see along the way, I think we're always going to be here and ready to work with the Ministry of Health to highlight those challenges so that they can be addressed. Because I believe the purpose of this ministerial order is to ensure wider access. It's not to limit. It's to really ensure that the women that are described in this law do not have to die or do not have to have complications because you're still thinking whether they should have abortion or not. So I look forward to the implementation, and I look forward to supporting the whole process.
Thank you so much. Honourable Member of Parliament, your closing remarks?
Yes, thank you. I think, to me, the grounds which has been put forward, actually, I think it is protecting our society. For instance, if somebody is a child, that a child cannot consent. So it's better to protect the child. Then if it is rape situation, then you have seen this on many occasions. So when there has been rape, this person should be actually helped also. When there is incest, actually incest, they say that up to the second degree. If it is a brother, if a mother, or a father. I think here we have even seen this one in society. So having these grounds, I agree with them. It's better we respect them. And when the pregnancy puts at risk the parent, the mother,
or the unborn baby,
or the baby to be born, then why not protect such people? So to me, I agree with the grounds which has been put forward. In brief, leave around the briefs. The briefs, let's see the government, what it has done. With the briefs, we shall go with them. Maybe we shall continue sensitizing the people, and the people will come to consent.
To understand.
Maybe we shall reach our dialogue with them.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you
Doctor, do you have anything? We should probably end it here. You have 20 seconds.
Yeah, what I can say that it's a continuous process. We need to keep educating the society so that we can also, of course, the government has been proactive, but we also need to also educate the society, because you see, it's members of the society that make those crimes, impregnate young girls or children, etc. So there's a need for continuous awareness and education so that we can be able to build a society that has values.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Nguruzi Zariaras Joseph. Thank you so much, Chantal Umuhoza. Thank you so much, Deputy Begumisa Safari Theonest, for joining me on the show. And thank you so much for all of you who have been watching right from your home, your screens. And the conversation doesn't stop here. Of course, like Chantal said, there are more to be done, but let's appreciate what has been done. But if there is more you think should be done, why don't not push it, because it's a government that listens, like we've heard. It's from me and my entire team that has been behind this. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night and happy Easter. Bye-bye.